So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ward 1 City Councilor David McCarthy. David, welcome.
Well, my name is Dave McCarthy. I've been the councilor for the last 2 terms here in Quincy. Before that, I was on the school committee for 12 years. I live at 48 Whitney Road, which is up by the high school, Quincy High School. I have 8 children. The majority went through Quincy Public Schools, which was great. I had one that defected to Norfolk Aggie, but I guess it was in Norfolk County, so that's a good thing. But I've had a great time working both on the school committee and as a counselor here in the city. I also, my full-time job is I'm the director of security for General Dynamics Information Technology, which is a corporation of General Dynamics, which is a big DoD company. We've accomplished a ton in the ward over the past 4 years. We've had a couple of tough terms with a lot of flooding on my first term and, of course, COVID on my second term, but we marched on and we took care of a lot of things. The seawall project, a lot of paving and sidewalk work, especially a lot of people on here are going to be pleased that C Street's coming to an end, which was a tough nut to crack because it seems like we've been there so long because we've been doing the seawall project, which ran right alongside C Street for the majority of the last 2 years. On top of that, we've done a great job down there on parks, a great job with Broad Meadows and Atherton and Howe. And I try to stay on top of everything down there and get down into the entire ward 3 or 4 times a week to make myself, down there accessible to the residents. And I really enjoy it. And I hope I get reelected and get the votes I needed to go back in for another 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. So your first question concerns transparency. So many candidates stress the importance of improved communication and how they will have greater transparency. Please give one specific example of something new that would improve communication and transparency.
Okay, Colin. Right now, I use Facebook a lot. I'm very accessible. I check my emails daily, my messages daily. My cell phone that folks have is my personal cell. So the 508-259-6650 number comes straight to me. I think that's a lot easier than carrying 2 phones. One of the things that I did in parts of the ward that I want to try to do more is have more face-to-face meetings now that COVID's over. I've had a few in Marymount and Adams Shore. I'd like to get it going again down in Howe's Neck, where you can actually have the people come out to the meetings. I don't know how exciting Zoom is anymore. I think Zoom was good. It did its job. But I think one of the big things that I'd try to do is get back out into the neighborhoods in a group, be it a section of the ward, Edgewater Drive, Germantown, the end of the Neck, and talk about the different issues that, everyone in their neighborhood is always trying to be proactive and proud of their street and their area. So I'd really like to break it up and do smaller groups, but get out there again with the folks and talk about any issues, small or big.
Very good, thank you. Our next question, if you could change one thing in our zoning code, what would it be and why?
Well, one of the things I try to do with zoning is I participate in almost every Tuesday night meeting. Haven't missed many in 4 years. And I've seen a lot of different scenarios with the zoning, and I'm specifically talking about Ward 1, Colin. The zoning in the ward where predominantly from the Willows to the end of the Neck is Residence A, single family. as you move your way back up C Street, there's a lot of Residence A in Adams Shore and in Marymount, but there are areas, and one of the areas is a Residence B area along C Street, the left side of C Street coming out of the neck, that I want to look at and try to make sure I'm fair with the homeowner who owns the land. But there were a lot of small cottages down there on that side of the Residence B, and I'd like to try to address that in a fair way so that we don't go into that area too hard with multifamilies. So I'll take a look at that Residence B area, but I'm also going to look at the different scenarios with Business B and Business A all the way up to the police station. There's not a lot in the neighborhoods that I'm concerned about in regards to zoning in Ward 1, but there are spotty areas where contractors will try to take advantage and try to put the biggest thing in there. And if I could get some better controls on that, I think it would be better for everyone.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along to question 3. In your own words, can you define critical race theory in relation to civic planning or social structures in our city? Do you think the city can benefit from this type of thinking? Why or why not?
No, I don't think they can. I look at Quincy, and I've talked to a lot of my colleagues and a lot of folks out there about this. Excuse me. And Quincy's a city that I see that has been a safe city and a healthy city in regards to any type of racial conduct out there. I think that the city is in good shape. I think that sometimes we'll create the problem. I think the kids at the high schools have done a great job over the years, as we know how diverse North Quincy and Quincy are as schools and systems. And I think the people in the neighborhoods have done a great job welcoming each other in. You're always going to have issues, but I'm not one that's going to go to the extreme and put that on people. I think that Quincy's in a good place, and until I see something that sparks my attention that makes Quincy turn into, a place that is racially or racially motivated in a bad way, then I'm going to sit tight with how we're doing it now. I think we do a good job.
Okay, thank you. Question 4. As a city councilor, you will have some budgetary decisions. How do you define your priorities on next year's budget? How do you intend to balance the needs of the taxpayers against the plans for city growth?
Well, excuse me, and forgive me, I've been out every night this week knocking doors and talking to people, so I'm losing it here. But I was chair of the budget the last 2 years, and it's a great experience to sit with Sue O'Connor, the city auditor, sit with Eric Mason, the chief economic manager of the city, and go through the numbers. Quincy's in a good place, but some of the items that I think we're going to have to deal with over the next couple of years are going to be there because of COVID in 2020. We took not as bad as a beating as some cities and towns. The mayor kept the city going, but you can see the numbers are down. So we're going to have to look really hard in regards to our services and our numbers this time around, because everyone would love everything to come back. Hotel, motel tax, fees on buildings, etc. out there, things that we had really going in regards to bringing in $1 so that we could keep the city services and the city looking wonderful and keep that Res A tax rate down as low as we can. We'll have to look at services and, we'll have to see how much we haven't brought in. I'm due to sit with the auditor and Mr. Mason very soon to talk about things like that as we start the session. But services, Colin, we're going to have to look really hard at what we have out there. And hopefully we don't have to make any tough choices. Hopefully we'll be able to take care of it within house, within the budget. But I think 2020 really gave us a black eye, and it will take us a few years to recover.
Yes, thank you. It was an extraordinary year.
Yeah.
So question 5, our community supports city workers, all workers, and their right to bargain collectively. How did you support labor and their rights to collective bargain for wages and benefits in your campaign?
Well, one of the things that I've always tried to do with the Norfolk County Labor Association, headed up by Bob Rizzi, is to talk to the guys and try to get that local worker involved in Quincy projects. Some time ago, we had some projects going on where the laborers came to me and asked for me to look into why certain people weren't coming on board that were from Quincy or from the South Shore. And we had Rhode Island in here in New Hampshire. So one of the things I try to do, and I have an upcoming meeting with a few of the members of the Norfolk County Labor Council, is to sit down and talk about the projects and talk about what we need to do, because we do have a few big projects coming in. And I want to make sure it's balanced correctly. I want to make sure the unions have a shot at it. And I think they will. I think that the Norfolk County Labor Association has some great leaders in their carpentry, sheet metal, iron, the laborers themselves, Mark Burns, to work with the mayor and the administration. So there's a balanced approach. So they go to work and get the job done union-wise. And there's also some work left for the non-union folks that might have to come in and do some unique or specialty work. But I think you got to talk to them, and I know them well.
Very good. So we're almost through time. We have about 2 minutes left. Would you like to try and do one more question before your closing statement?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's do it. Most years, a few controversial issues come before the council. How will you balance listening to the concerns of all your constituents, yet still having to make a decision that may and should not please everyone?
That's a good one, Colin. Well, you try to look at the impact, at least I do, I'll speak for myself. I look at the impact of what it's going to do to my ward and what it's going to do to the city. Not every answer is yes. Sometimes it's no. And sometimes it has to be that way. Sometimes there's compromise and you can figure out how to possibly take care of a situation or a group or an organization or an issue in the city and compromise on the issues. But I always look at that impact on the city, on the taxpayer. We've made some pretty good decisions, I think, in regards to some of our financial moves, moving out like everyone else is these days and utilizing the low interest rates and taking care of some of the work where we'd never be able to borrow. Like, I think everybody out there who's buying homes, they disappear in a day. But I would look at the majority of the impact on the city in regards to any of that and try to look at the best holistic move for the city working with the administration, and of course, my colleagues on the city council.
Thank you, Councilor McCarthy. You have about a minute left and we'll have your closing statement.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you. I know we don't have too many of these this go around, but it's good to get on with a few people and be able to express your thoughts. I would love to get reelected again. There are a lot of projects in my ward that need to be finished. The seawall second phase from Manor Ave down to Bayswater will probably start up sometime next year. The Maritime Center, which we put on the back burner a few years ago because of the seawall project and public safety, we kind of switched gears and put all our attention to that. And that's coming to an end, the first phase, and it's coming out pretty good. Like any project, there's always a heavy punch list, and we'll try to take care of that. But I would love to stay on and take care of those things. The seawall project, phase 2, the Maritime Center, and there are a number of streets and sidewalks down in the neck that are getting done now. And we bonded $100 million sidewalk street funding last year so that we could continue. And it's come out nice. They've done a great job on C Street, Darrow Street, Mears Ave, and there's a number of others that I'll look at to try to keep it going. But infrastructure, seawalls, Maritime Center, and also just singular individual resident issues in regards to zoning, planning, or Concom. But I'd love to get everyone's vote on November 2nd and get back in and do a couple more years.
Thank you, Councilor McCarthy. And we
Thank you.
appreciate you joining us.